Do you choose to check your phone in the morning, or has the choice already been made for you? You might say it's habit, convenience, or even boredom. But what if those reasons are merely the visible ripples of a current flowing far deeper, one that began long before you woke up today? The modern mind clings to the belief that it is sovereign, free to will and act without constraint. Yet this comforting illusion dissolves the moment we examine the scaffolding that supports it. The Stoics, nearly 2,000 years ago, whispered an unsettling truth. Choice is not freedom. It is alignment with what was always fated to occur. So, before we pull back the curtain, take a moment to support our work with a like and subscribe, but only if you are ready to explore the truths hidden in plain sight. Invite viewers to post their reflections in the comments. Now, let's begin our descent into the core of the issue. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus lived as a slave before becoming one of Rome's most celebrated teachers of inner freedom. He argued that the universe is governed by a rational order, the logos, in which every event unfolds according to necessity. We do not control the external world, only our judgments about it. The so-called choices we make are merely the internal acceptance or rejection of what has already been woven into the tapestry of fate. This is not fatalism in the passive sense, but an active recognition that our agency operates within strict, immovable boundaries. Visually, imagine an immense river carrying countless vessels downstream, each ship's captain feeling in command, yet all bound to the same current. In our own time, this idea feels alien, even offensive. The contemporary ethos prizes self-determination, the curated life, the mantra that you can be anything. But if the Stoics are right, then our victories are not conjured from free will alone. They are the meeting point between our nature and circumstances already set in motion. The apparent freedom in choosing a career, a partner, or a belief may be nothing more than selecting from the menu that time, biology, and history have placed before us. Modern psychology nods quietly to this truth. Studies in behavioral priming show that subtle cues, a warm cup in your hand, a particular scent in the air, can nudge your decisions without your awareness. To the Stoic, these nudges are not anomalies but proof. We live in a web of causes, visible and invisible, stretching back beyond our birth. And yet, the Stoic perspective does not strip life of meaning, it refines it. If we are bound by the current, wisdom lies not in thrashing against it, but in steering skillfully within its flow. Epictetus would tell us that serenity is found in distinguishing between what can be shaped and what must be endured. In a world obsessed with limitless potential, this sounds like a prison, but the Stoics saw it as liberation. When we admit that the range of our choices is pre-framed, the frantic need to control outcomes softens. The real battlefield becomes our interpretation of events, the discipline of our inner life. In this way, choice is not abolished but transformed, from the power to change fate to the power to meet fate well. This is the first crack in the facade of free will. Once you glimpse the current, you cannot unsee it, and in that vision lies both discomfort and clarity. The question now is whether the current flows only through the world outside us, or whether it also runs within, in the very machinery of thought itself. If the Stoics located the current outside us, early modern philosophy began tracing it inside the mind, into the gears and levers of thought itself. The 17th century brought a revolution, not only in science, but in the very way we conceived of human nature. Descartes declared, "Cogito ergo sum," I think, therefore I am, placing thinking at the core of existence. Yet even as he insisted on the soul's separateness from the body, his mechanistic view of the physical world implied that our bodies, and perhaps our minds, obeyed deterministic laws. In his shadow, Spinoza stepped further into the abyss. The mind is not exempt from causality. It is itself part of the same unbroken chain of causes and effects that governs the planets and the tides. Visually, imagine a vast, intricate clockwork. each gear turning another, from the smallest neuron to the largest galaxy. For Spinoza, freedom is not the ability to act independently of causes, such a thing is impossible, but the ability to understand the causes that move us. The more we comprehend these forces, the more we can align with our true nature, much as the Stoics sought harmony with the Logos. But this harmony is no escape from programming. It is a lucid awareness of the code. In modern neuroscience, Spinoza's insight finds eerie confirmation. Neural impulses fire before we are consciously aware of making a decision. Experiments like those of Benjamin Libet show that the brain decides milliseconds before the conscious mind catches up. What we feel as the moment of choice may, in fact, be a post hoc narration, our inner storyteller justifying what the machinery has already set in motion. This mechanical view of mind troubles our moral intuitions. If thought itself is determined, then accountability becomes a matter of architecture, not will. Are we to praise or condemn the watch for keeping perfect time, or for breaking when a spring fails? And yet, rejecting this determinism outright often means clinging to a comforting but shaky illusion. Consider the surge of decisions you make unconsciously, choosing a seat in a cafe, glancing at a stranger, phrasing a text. Each is a product of countless micro-causes, past experiences, sensory inputs, mood fluctuations, and cultural scripts. In aggregate, they create the sense of a self steering a course, when in truth, that self may be more passenger than pilot. The danger of ignoring this truth is complacency. If we imagine ourselves entirely free, we fail to investigate the architecture of our own cognition. We mistake programming for personality. The benefit of acknowledging it, paradoxically, is empowerment. Knowing that you are a machine allows you to maintain it, debug it, even rewire parts of it. The early moderns left us with a dilemma. If we are machines, we are also mechanics. We cannot escape the gears, but we can study them, adjust them, perhaps make them run in ways that serve our deeper aims. This requires the courage to confront the unsettling reality that many of our preferences are inherited, automated, and invisible to us. The question that follows is sharper still. If the machinery of mind operates within us, who built it? And here, we find that the hands are not only biological but cultural, shaping our deepest instincts before we can even speak our first word. If biology gives us the hardware, culture writes the software. Long before we can name ourselves, we are already running code, scripts inherited from language, tradition, and the unspoken rules of our tribe. Nietzsche saw this not as a neutral fact, but as the core mechanism by which power sustains itself. On the Genealogy of Morals, he traced our most cherished moral instincts, good, evil, guilt, not to divine mandate, but to historical acts of domination. Morality, he argued, is a tool forged by the strong to shape the instincts of the many, so that obedience feels like virtue and rebellion feels like sin. Visually, picture a hall of ancient statues, each whispering rules into the ears of passing children, their stone faces unchanging through centuries. We rarely notice this programming because it arrives as the background music of life. From lullabies to laws, from school mottos to national anthems, culture scripts the boundaries of what we think is possible, acceptable, or desirable. By the time we reach adulthood, we are fluent in its grammar and blind to its authorship. We may feel free when choosing a career, but how many choices were even imaginable before cultural filters decided what counted as success? In Nietzsche's own 19th century Europe, Christian morality had so thoroughly permeated the cultural air that even atheists carried its assumptions about compassion, humility, and the sanctity of life. Today, the code may wear different clothes: consumerism, identity politics, corporate ethos, but the mechanism is the same. The system is not simply in the laws we obey, but in the desires we feel naturally, in the instincts that seem self-generated, yet were installed over years of repetition. Modern behavioral economics echoes this. Social norms act like default settings in our decision-making. People will opt into organ donation, for example, at drastically higher rates if the form is designed to presume consent. This is not rational deliberation, it's a cultural reflex. The most unsettling part of Nietzsche's critique is that this programming doesn't just limit choice, it shapes identity. To rebel against the code, you must first see it. But the code's most brilliant trick is making itself invisible, embedding its logic in the very questions you ask and the answers that feel plausible. Consider the modern workplace. You choose to chase promotions, accept deadlines, and sacrifice evenings because you believe in productivity and growth. But these values are not neutral. They are cultural constructs designed to reward certain behaviors and keep the system functioning. Your ambition may feel like yours alone, yet it operates on a frequency tuned decades before you arrived. In the ancient world, culture rewrote the code slowly, across generations. In ours, the updates arrive daily, pushed silently through the glowing rectangles in our hands. Modern neuroscience and behavioral economics reveal a chilling truth. Our choices can be predicted and therefore programmed with unnerving accuracy. We are not just cultural beings, we are behavioral datasets, each click and pause feeding algorithms that refine the next choice we will freely make. Visually, imagine an endless row of mirrors reflecting not your face, but your past actions, every reflection subtly altered, nudging the next move you will take. The brain, remarkable as it is, runs on patterns. It learns by repetition, seeks efficiency through habit, and prizes emotional cues over abstract reasoning. Behavioral economists like Daniel Kahneman have shown how System 1 thinking, fast, intuitive, and emotional, dominates most of our daily decisions. This is precisely what marketers and platforms exploit. They don't need to force you to act. They simply design environments in which the natural next step is the one they profit from. Neuroscientific studies go further. The same predictive models used in online advertising can anticipate a person's choice seconds before they consciously make it. In lab settings, researchers can identify which button you will press before you even feel you've decided. In the marketplace, tech companies achieve a parallel feat, suggesting products, videos, or news that you will likely accept, not because they understand your free will, but because they have mapped the probabilities of your neural machinery. Consider how streaming platforms recommend a show you didn't know you wanted, or how social media feeds adjust in real time to hold your gaze. This is not persuasion, it is environmental engineering. They arrange the maze so that the next turn feels inevitable. The algorithm is not some mystical force, it is the modern equivalent of Nietzsche's cultural programming, now updated with real-time behavioral feedback. The implications are staggering. It means our personal tastes can be sculpted not just in childhood, but on a minute-by-minute basis. The culture that once shaped values now shapes cravings, fears, and the timing of every impulse. In such a system, the very idea of authentic choice becomes slippery. We might still decide between option A and option B, but the fact that both options were presented, and the way they were framed, was itself a choice made by someone or something else. Yet there is a dangerous temptation here, to surrender entirely to the narrative of control, to say, we are programmed, therefore resistance is futile. That surrender is exactly what the system thrives on. The truth is subtler. Recognizing the machinery doesn't mean it cannot be influenced. It means that influence requires a different kind of skill, one the ancients would have recognized as a form of discipline. This brings us to the final movement of our inquiry. If fate, biology, culture, and algorithms all press upon us, can we still reclaim any measure of authorship over our lives? Or must we accept that the only freedom left is to rewrite fragments of the code from inside the machine. To speak of rewriting the code is to step into the realm of existentialism, a philosophy born in the rubble of old certainties. Sartre, Camus, and Kierkegaard each faced the same abyss. If life is scripted by forces we do not control, what remains? Their answer was not comfort, but defiance. Sartre declared that even in a world without divine order, we are condemned to be free. The condemnation lies in the fact that, while the stage and many lines are pre-written, the responsibility for how we deliver them is ours alone. Visually, imagine a dimly lit theater where the scenery is fixed, but the actor can still choose tone, gesture, and timing, small freedoms that, in the right hands, transform the entire play. This freedom within constraint is neither total autonomy nor total surrender. It is the recognition that although we cannot rewrite the laws of physics, erase our childhood, or dismantle the cultural operating system overnight, we can disrupt its default settings. Kierkegaard saw such disruption as a leap of faith, not necessarily into religion, but into a self-chosen commitment so profound that it overrides inherited scripts. Camus called it revolt, the refusal to passively accept the absurdity of a life where causes outweigh choices. In practice, this rebellion looks less like grand gestures and more like deliberate friction against the machine. It means questioning the obvious career path, refusing the instant click, slowing down in a culture designed for speed. It is the conscious cultivation of pauses in which the machinery hesitates, however briefly, to let something unscripted through. These moments are rare, fragile, and often costly, but they are also the raw material of any authentic selfhood. Even neuroscience, so often wielded as proof of determinism, leaves a sliver of space here. While much of our behavior is habitual, habits can be changed through sustained intentional practice. Neuroplasticity shows that the brain's wiring is not static. It is possible to overwrite reflexes, train attention, and expand the kinds of options we can even perceive. The existentialists would recognize in this the slow, stubborn work of crafting a self, rewriting, line by line, the play we are forced to perform. Yet there is no promise of victory. To live as if free is to live in tension with the evidence of programming. It is to acknowledge that algorithms, culture, and biology will always outnumber our conscious decisions, but to act anyway, as if the fragments we can control matter infinitely. This is not naivety, it is a wager that meaning is made, not given. And so, we arrive at the paradox: the more we understand our programming, the more responsible we become for how we engage with it. Awareness is not an escape hatch, it is an invitation to vigilance. The code will always run. The question is whether, in fleeting moments, we can bend it enough to recognize ourselves in the output. Perhaps the harshest truth is that we will never fully escape the machine. The current runs too deep. The gears turn too steadily. The code updates too quickly. And yet, it is in the smallest, most fragile spaces, those moments when we pause before acting, that we glimpse the possibility of authorship. This is not the freedom of an untouched will, but the hard-won clarity of a mind that sees its chains and still chooses where to strain against them. The ancients called it harmony with fate. The moderns, understanding of causes. The existentialists, the creation of self. Different languages for the same pursuit, to live deliberately in a world where deliberation is rare. We cannot dismantle the forces that shape us, but we can refuse to be passive recipients of their output. And maybe that is all the freedom we are meant to have, not a blank canvas, but a corner of the mural where the brush is still in our hand. Whether we paint it carelessly or with intention will decide if our life's picture is ours, or just another replication in the gallery of the programmed.